Hello viewers, you are tuning in to Athletic Alert, sponsored by Michael Rosenblum Podiatrist. Today, we have Colin here to continue our fantasy baseball series. What do you got for us today?
Today, like we promised, we're going to continue to go around the diamond. We'll be covering the second baseman in today's episode of Romaglia's Rankings.
Colin, your list does not differ from others at the number one spot. I'm seeing a lot, and I'm seeing a lot of this guy. Jose Altuve, you have him at number one. There's a lot of lists with him at number one. Why is he there?
Well, he's there because he produces all across the board. He's only age 26, so he's in his prime right now, and he could get better in the future. He's had 4 seasons of 30-plus stolen bases. He's never had more than 85 strikeouts in a season, so he has great plate discipline. He's batted over .310 the past 2 seasons. He's played 150-plus games the past 3 seasons. The guy's out on the field every day, and what we saw last year was we actually saw some pop. He hit well over 10 home runs. That was the only thing that was keeping him from being a 5-category player. He was great at getting runs, great at getting RBIs, stolen bases and average, but the power was never there. The power came last season, so it's great to be excited about him for the season. He's definitely the number one.
Definitely?
Yeah, I mean, to me, you're getting a guy who's going to produce great stats across the board.
Don't you just think that D. Gordon, he batted a better average than Jose Altuve, put up almost double the stolen bases that Jose put up. He obviously doesn't have the power, but he has the potential to be, I feel, just as good as Altuve. So if you're going to have Altuve at number one, I feel like you can just have D. Gordon at number 2 right behind him because they're pretty similar.
Yeah, they're pretty similar. D. Gordon drops to number 3, and I know you said he could be number 1 based on his great season he had last year. And, a lot of people, especially I've seen in expert mock drafts that they've been doing so far, D. Gordon is the number 1 second baseman.
I think he is. I think he's the number 1.
And people would agree, but
I like his stolen base potential.
In my instance, what I would say is that D. Gordon obviously is the fastest in the league. Still 1 more stolen base than Billy Hamilton last season. I just think this is a guy who's never had over 50 RBIs in his career. Now, that's not all his fault. I think most of the problem is that he hits in the National League. That's what separates him and Altuve. He hits after a pitcher, so he's not going to have a lot of chance to get RBIs.
I know, but listen, Altuve is only hitting 60 RBIs compared to D. Gordon hitting 45 or 50, so there's not a big difference in that. Like, can't D. Gordon just, he can be right there with Altuve. He really can.
Yeah, you're making a good argument, but that 330 average or 333 average, it's not going to stay. It's not going to stay.
He is going to bat at least 300. I think it's fair to say that.
Okay.
I'll say that too, but I think D. Gordon will be, he'll bat at least.
But you'll get what? Maybe 2 home runs if you're lucky?
Okay, so what's Altuve going to hit? 10?
Yeah, 10,
5
12.
or 10?
It's better than 2.
It is. Okay, so Altuve has more power, but I think Gordon's potential and speed just beats it. But then
and speed, I understand what you're saying because speed does come at a premium.
Yeah.
In this league this year, I understand that, but I would rather have Altuve. That's me.
All right. Well, that's comment who you think, Altuve or D. Gordon. Put it down below. And then at number 2, you have Robbie Cano.
Yeah.
I love this guy for a second baseman. Probably the only guy on this list that has the potential to hit over 20 homers, over like 90 ribbies, and he bats over 300. I know last season he only hit 287, but that was because of his terrible first half, which I think you don't need to be scared of.
Yes.
The second half he hit 330, so I think he's going to be back to full form this season, and I don't think there's a lot to worry about. If you don't like, that Altuve and Gordon are not going to be getting you the power numbers, then Cano's probably your number 1 guy.
Yeah, and Cano, when I was thinking of Altuve and Gordon, I was like, I have to put these guys like close to each other, like 1-2 or 2-3.
Mm-hmm.
But then I was like, it's just something with Robbie Cano. I was like, I love Robbie Cano. He's been putting up great stats for years. He's a veteran. I can understand why some people knock him. He's never had over 100 strikeouts in a season over his whole 10-year career. but coming into 2015, and then in last season in 2015, he had 107 strikeouts.
Which is still not bad.
Which is still not bad. I mean, it's pretty good. You're not talking 200 strikeout Chris Davis. I mean, he's still pretty good. But it's also the first time in 6 years where he hit under 300. So people might be saying he's starting to get up there and tick up there and get older. But the reason he falls at 2 is he is the only guy, I think, on the every second baseman that's eligible that could come close and maybe pass the 100 RBI mark, which he did as a Yankee multiple times. So, and he could get you over 20 home runs. So he's super safe.
He's so different as a second baseman because most second basemen are speed or, none of them are going to hit, 100 ribbies, I feel like, except for maybe Robbie Cano.
Right, exactly.
And you move down your list, number 4, Brian Dozier. I really like Brian Dozier. I mean, he's just like a solid guy.
I love him.
But you just have to hate the batting average.
It's, and I'll tell you, that's the one thing I have against him.
Everything else is good about him.
Yeah, absolutely true. I love the bulldozer. I mean, he last season for qualified second baseman, he finished first in home runs with 28. He finished first in runs scored with 101 runs scored, and he finished second in RBIs with 77. First person, obviously, being Robbie Cano.
With a terrible first half.
With a terrible first half, exactly. And also, Dozier pitched in 12 stolen bases as well.
Dozier's awesome.
He's great.
Just batting average.
Yeah, that's the knock on him. The past 3 seasons, his batting average just keeps going down. He went from a 244 to a 242 to last season where he hit 236.
Ooh.
That's pretty bad. But the reason I love Brian Dozier is he is a potential 2020 guy. And 2020 guy meaning 20 home runs, 20 stolen bases. And there was only 4 guys last season who were 2020 guys. Obviously, he didn't make it because he only had 12 stolen bases. But in 2014, he did hit 20 home runs and 20 stolen bases. So he could get back at that stat rate in 2016. That's why I love him coming in. And I just love he's a great player.
Yeah, I love Brian Dozier. And you move down a little bit to number 6, Jason Kipnis. Kind of did what Robbie Cano did, except the other way around. He had a great first half and a pretty bad second half. But Kipnis doesn't have the track record that Robbie Cano has, so you can't feel as safe getting Kipnis. I don't really know what to think of him because he really was like a number 1 second baseman in the first half of the season and then dropped so much in the second half.
Yep.
And like I said, not much of a, not a great past history to know exactly what he's going to do this season. What do you think?
Right. I believe it was back in 2013, 2012. He had this amazing season with like 80 RBIs and like 30 stolen bases, and everyone had the hype, and then he's just gone down from there. But he's still a pretty solid player. He's going to hit behind 2 great speedsters in Rajai Davis and Francisco Lindor, who can steal a lot of bases. So he'll have those RBI opportunities. I don't doubt it. He'll also, I think, will hit close to 280, maybe 300. He had 12 stolen bases last season, but he was caught stealing 8 times, which is the most he's ever been caught stealing in the past 3 seasons. So that he needs to make better decisions when stealing bases.
Okay.
But he's a great guy, and when Brantley comes back in the lineup, Carlos Santana, Yan Gomes, this is a secret good lineup they have in Cleveland, and he's in the middle.
Yeah, that is a good lineup that a lot of people just don't see.
Mm-hmm.
And the last guy I want to talk about is the last guy on your list, Neil Walker. Now he's on the Mets. The addition of Yoenis, I feel like that's gonna boost Walker a lot. We saw with Murphy last season, who is now being replaced by Walker at second base. They would pitch to Murphy every single time he went up because Yoenis was up next, and they knew they couldn't pitch to him. And I feel like that's why Murphy did as well as he did. Okay. So I think Neil Walker's going to have a similar kind of opportunity there. They're going to try to be pitching around Yoenis, and they're going to pitch the guys in front of and behind Yoenis, and that's going to be Neil Walker. The bottom of the Mets lineup is good. The top of the Mets lineup is good. They're solid throughout. A lot of guys that can score runs and drive in runs. So I think the Mets lineup is a good spot for fantasy guys. I think Neil Walker's going to have another solid season. He has a good record of solid seasons, and he's going to add on to it.
Absolutely. Yeah, he moved up to number 10 as soon as I heard that Yoenis was coming back to the Mets because he just adds a whole nother dimension to that lineup. But like you said, Neil Walker is super solid. That's why he makes this list. he's always going to hit like over 15 home runs and over 70 RBIs, which is great, which he's done that each of the past 2 seasons, and he hits around 270, which doesn't kill your average at all. It's a pretty decent average. And I think he is the 3rd guy on this entire list that has that 20 home run potential. Behind Robbie Cano and behind Brian Dozier, I think Neil Walker will have the 3rd highest home runs as a second baseman. I think, he has a lot of pop. The only problem with him, the only knock I have, is he struggles against left-handed pitching. So the only thing that you guys have to, be careful with Neil Walker is he might lose some at-bats to, say, a Wilmer Flores or someone like that, just because he can't hit left-handed
the depth
pitching.
of the Mets, they like to switch guys in and out, day to day. So a lot of, like the middle infielders, the second and shortstops, and even third, they like to switch him in and out. So you can't rely on him to play every single day. That's the only problem with, Mets guys in fantasy.
Right.
But for the most part, he's a very consistent and safe guy if you look at his past seasons. And I think in the Mets lineup, he's going to do well.
Yep.
So that concludes Romaglia's rankings for the second baseman. Comment if you have any opinions on this. Like this video and subscribe to our channel. We will see you next time on Athletic Alert.